Hello and welcome to another episode of Earth911 Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Rackwood, your host, and we are back with yet another innovator interview. There is so much going on in the world that is positive and good. Let's talk about some of it. You know, Styrofoam, plastic number 6, also called expanded polystyrene, is one of the most frequently asked about materials at Earth911. We get questions about the fact that this cannot be recycled very easily all the time. Americans discard an astonishing amount of expanded polystyrene. It's a ubiquitous material used in packaging, in restaurant takeout packaging, for instance, and many other things. But we toss out about 1,500 tons a day across the country. And when you think about how much volume is involved in 1,500 tons of styrofoam, it's a startlingly large amount of stuff. And until recently, the material has been really unprofitable to recycle. So the majority of it just ends up in landfills. And we want to welcome Lou Troiano, who's the founder and CEO of Foam Cycle. It's a company working to get a breakthrough in recycling of expanded polystyrene into communities across the country. An all-in-one collection and processing system delivered in a movable container. And Foam Cycle looks for public-private partnerships with governments and entrepreneurs to install collection stations at recycling transfer stations across the country. And Lou, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Oh, great, Mitch. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone.
Well, it's great to have you because we do get this question all the time. Let me just ask first and foremost, why has recycling expanded polystyrene been so difficult in the past?
Mitch, in this country, we're kind of spoiled with respect to recycling in general. We want everything in our curbside collection container. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not so much that we do, but the waste industry sure does. And people, as they say, think out of the box. We have to think outside of this curbside collection container. Foam can, and we've proven it now since we've been in operation a few years, could be successfully recycled at municipal recycling drop-off centers. They call that hard to recycle materials. And once again, I don't know who labeled it hard to recycle. It's pretty easy. But so to set the stage of the conversation, if you don't mind, sure. I'm in this industry about 23 years, and I got my start really from the ground floor. Looking back, it's unfortunate, but I come out of high school and I made some money jumping on a garbage truck, and I stayed there. So from the driving the garbage truck and collecting waste on the streets to working myself up into more of an operational role, and then into a management role, and finally into sales. The last 17 years, I've been just really focusing on the recycling side of the industry, helping customers, commercial customers, usually large facilities, recycle materials that were entering their waste stream. So I would do waste audits and make sure that if there's something getting in their garbage compactor, we're pulling it out. And one of those materials was styrofoam. So I had a lot
of the time, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So to recycle something called styrofoam, and I think we really should just correct what styrofoam is first and foremost. It's a trade name of the Dow Chemical company. And they really can't stand when people say styrofoam because it's their product, their branded product, and their branded product for a building material that's used in new constructions. Folks see it in either a pink color or a blue color. They're boards, and they have fireproof materials in it, which actually prevents it from being recycled through my system anyway. So that's styrofoam. What we, the industry, really would like people to say, and we would all like people to say, it's just really foam. And foam comes in two forms. It's either packaging foam, the foam for coolers and TV and furniture packaging, or it's going to be food service foam, the cups, your plates, your clamshells, and your egg cartons, meat trays, and and that actually is specifically targeted by a lot of states as a single-use plastic, and bans have circled around food service foam and not packaging foam. So, somebody live in a community where the state has banned single stream foam, and yet they'll still get a cooler sent to their house, and they'll wonder, what am I doing with this? I thought we banned it. It's two separate companies, industries, and products. So that's important information for folks to know.
Sure. Now, the reason that it hasn't been particularly economical, at least this is the rationale provided by the waste management industry, is that it's full of air. So when you actually take all the air out of the expanded polystyrene, the number 6 plastic, it leaves very little resin compared to the volume you had to process. Now, can we start to recover from landfills all the stuff that we already put in there? Could it be recycled if we pulled it out of the ground?
You want something that I'm not sure on that aspect of it, but I can tell you the studies we have done now on this. It's we have proof of how impactful it is going to a landfill. So our studies show that you're correct. It's 98% air packaging foam. So we take a foam cooler. If we put it through the system, our system of densification, the air is safely removed. It's not toxic air. It's just air. We've had it tested. So when the air is removed, the 2% polystyrene plastic that extracted from this cooler or from the process is very valuable and very reusable over and over again. What people don't know also, Mitch, is about landfills themselves. Landfills are calculated on landfill airspace and not by weight.
Right.
So when something goes to a landfill, okay, you're familiar with it. It's taken up, and that's how they calculate the building of landfills and the closing of landfills. It's on landfill airspace, and once again, not weight.
Moreover, there's a fixed period of time that they have to fill that land with garbage, and so they're not particularly interested in keeping stuff out of it. They're interested in using the land they paid for.
That's correct. And what people don't also realize is sometimes that, once something goes to a landfill, it's covered with dirt. No one's going back over it. So where a product is supposedly biodegradable, that's great. And whether Styrofoam, how fast it biodegrades or not is really irrelevant. It's that it hit a landfill. And once you hit the landfill, you've impacted the environment. The idea is not to send it to a landfill, not how quick something breaks down. It's no one's going back over it again. So it's, we have to keep it out of the landfill. That's the key.
Now, you said that the extruded material is really, really reusable. Now, normally plastic is not reusable past the second or third time through the recycling process at most. But are you saying that number 6 plastic can be reused almost infinitely?
Yes. Now, I'm a recycler. I work for the industry, and I'm recycling foam. How our process works right now is we work with a company that makes picture frames. I'll take them for an example. And we're looking to make this product. But the picture frame itself that's made from the foam, if somebody bought one of these frames and didn't want it anymore, we can actually regrind it to make a new frame. So it's not something we're making a one product and then off to the landfill. And now, I'm sure you're going to cover, if you haven't already, is this next new wave of recycling called, they used the name chemical recycling.
Right.
Now it's called advanced plastic recycle. They realized that name wasn't any good. So it's advanced plastic recycle. But advanced plastic recycle takes this styrofoam waste and almost creates a new polymer from it. It's almost as good as a virgin foam. So companies that generate a lot of foam waste from their manufacturing, who before couldn't use that recycled or that material from the end of their process back into the new process because it was contaminated in some way. This gives new life to the fact that they can actually become circular. And it's quite exciting. I just don't know enough about it, but that's the general concept of it. So, and they're saying it could be perpetually recycled, constantly sent back to their chemical process and made into a new polymer.
Well, let's talk about Foam Cycle. When did you start the company, and how long did it take you to get the first of these commercial drop-off systems in place?
Sure. So appreciate that. So back in 2016, one of my customers was a county in New Jersey called Sussex County, and I would call on them. Once again, I'm in the recycling business to buy their newsprint and cardboard. And a woman there, her name is Rini Casapula, and she said, and we talk about different commodities, and they really have an extensive recycling drop-off center because they also have a 250-acre landfill attached to the recycling center. So you can almost visually look and see their recycling containers, and behind them, this big mountain, and they're trying to keep the mountain low so it lasts a long time. So she said to me, the Amazon effect is bringing in so much material to her site. And foam is something that they can't recycle, and she's seeing it bypass a recycling center and over to the landfill. What can we do about it? So having set up, densifier machines and recycling at some large companies, mostly furniture companies, I started thinking, and I went back and I, just had that Shark Tank moment, kind of, I guess, where, all right, so this machine can't stay outside, and most drop-off centers are outside in the open. How do we fix this? So I created this encapsulated system where the densifier stays inside of a unit. Mm-hmm. Try a patent pending on it right now. We're waiting for the patent to come through on it. And so I went back to the county and I said, well, here's my ideas. Met with the officials at the county. I said, we did a public-private partnership. They said, let's try it, Lou. So I spent the money on the machine and the design and the build out, and they allowed me a space at that recycling center to try this. So it was just a trial.
Right. That's great.
It really worked out well because for folks that know this industry, SWANA is a pretty prominent award. It reaches across the country at all landfill sites are all part of the SWANA organization. And they give the county an award for their program, the first type of program, the first of its type program. So we had success there. And then in 2019, we were fortunate enough to get a green team from a local university. Montclair State University has a phenomenal green team program to help businesses. So we applied as that public-private partnership. And we had, I think, about 6 young people all studying the field of environmental studies, spend the summer at the landfill. And as a result of that, we've come up with a calculation on how impactful foam packaging is when it does hit a landfill. And we did kind of so it's a reverse study, right? Most people study how long it sits at a landfill. We want to know what's the impact if you remove it, if you don't even put it in there. How much does the county save? How much do people save? What products do we make?
What'd you find?
Yeah.
What did you find?
Oh, no, we really came up with an analytic and a program now that if someone, say, in Florida has a similar site, they can plug in these numbers and see exactly what they're saving on landfill airspace. So we have that. They did a white paper study on what they've come up with. All I can share with anyone who's interested.
Okay, well, we will point to that in the article that goes with this. So let me ask this.
Yeah.
What's it like to use the system? I'm a regular person. I've got an armful of foam. I walk up to the system. What happens?
The system itself, you're not walking up to. The system comes with an outside collection container, and you're simply just dropping off the foam in the container. That's it, and walking away. Later on during the day at a drop-off center or early in the morning or whenever that center has some time on the people that work there, they will walk over to that container, take out the material. It falls into a big super sack, and they transfer the super sack over to the main processing container.
Okay.
So, and then they'll process when they have enough. It could be 4 or 5 sacks. Then they'll turn the machine on and process. The real interesting part of this is the fact that there's somebody feeding a machine by hand, and when they do that, the contamination level or contamination issue is basically eliminated because if something is in their hand that's either too dirty, too much tape, too contaminated,
they just don't put it in.
Yeah, so it's unlike, these complicated single stream facilities where, 30-40% of the material going in is wound up in the landfill anyway.
Now, because that sorting is taking place, one of the big challenges with recycling foam, particularly foam food packaging, is that it's dirty. Do you find that when people are taking the time to drop off foam, that they're also dropping off cleaner?
You hit the nail on the head, Mitch. That's exactly what we find. If you're going to put foam, first of all, if you're dropping off foam, you are a dedicated recycler to begin with. Okay, the people that use these sites are folks.
You're an Earth911 listener.
Yeah, exactly. You are. You absolutely are. That's who I'm speaking to. These are everybody here is gearing up for Saturday's run to the recycling center. And why not, right? We go to the supermarket to buy our food. Why not drop it off? If you know 100% that what you're dropping off is going to be recycled, more people would use these facilities. So anyway, so they drop it off and and from there it's guaranteed to be recycled.
Now, how long, once somebody puts one of these in place, and you seek out combinations of entrepreneurs and municipalities that want to partner in this stuff, right? They put the money in. How long does it take for that to turn profitable?
In Sussex County, we came back with an ROI of, I think, 4 years. So from the time of investment, and I'll be frank with everybody, the investment's about $75,000. So when you look at this kind of number, yeah, I always compare it to the price of a pickup truck. These Department of Public Works facilities buy these elaborate trucks, one less truck and you could be recycling styrofoam for everyone. And Mitch, if I could tell you, I put a system in Florida and it was down in Naples, Florida, in Collier County. And when I was there, it was just to see folks actually recycle and bring the foam. There's a video on my website that shows one lady who wanted to bring her daughter back to show her. People get excited about it, getting this stuff out of the landfill. So personally, this has been a great adventure for me. Every time I set up a system, it's just so rewarding because, and we don't talk about recycling in a sense that a lot of people do greenwashing of recycling, where they say, well, if you do this, you save this many trees and this much. This is actual weight. What we do, we recycle, we weigh it, we sell it, we calculate just what that would have been impactful on the landfill, that weight. So it's really, it's something you can kick and look at and feel and touch. It's really pretty rewarding.
Well, and the story of the impact is really important to people. You're absolutely right. So let me ask this. Is profit the main driver of these kinds of things, or is it more a matter of environmental benefit and it's okay if it just breaks even for the city or the county?
Most cities and counties are looking at grants, and grants are increasing, thank goodness. So where these go in, it's usually with a city or state grant, or at least most of the money for it. But yeah, so it's not so much because they're not revenue centers, these municipal sites, right? They service the municipality, they service the people in that county. And that being said, that's always the tough one, like your listeners are passionate. Sometimes Department of Public Works people or people who run county recycling aren't so passionate, so you have to get the right person that really wants to steer the program. And I'm fortunate enough to everywhere I put a system in, I had really good people that they would have got paid the same amount of money and went home the same time every day if they didn't recycle foam, but yet they went that extra mile to do this. So, it's good people really just stepping up is what's needed here. So
where do you have collection stations operating today?
Well, when I started, the idea here is what I think is if I put one in the state, the rest of the counties in the state start getting jealous and they start looking at it. And that's what triggers an effect, for more of them. So, and that's what happened in New Jersey. We started in Sussex County. I must have given 50 tours of different counties, municipalities from the state that call us, that want to see it.
Right.
And so since then, 4 or 5 have joined now, and a few more are online. And then we threw up something called the Foam Packaging Coalition, FCR. They put out a grant, and for folks that want that grant, it's up to $50,000. So it'll cover most of the machine, but you have to be able to recycle both food service and packaging foam. So, in some states, maybe they don't want to deal with the food service foam, and that's up to them. But if they want to deal with both, so I have 2 in Florida that are both successfully collecting both food service and packaging foam. One in Pennsylvania, one in North Carolina. North Carolina is interesting. It's in Greensboro, and it was a group of religious people, like a church group, different churches that wanted to help the environment, more so than the county, I guess, because those folks put in for a bid, and we put a system in, and they are open to the public and just doing a great job and passionate about it.
That's interesting. Earth911 did some experimentation with facilitating collection systems, and religious organizations were really interested. And the idea that a church or a synagogue could put a processing system in the large parking lot they only use on Sundays, and both do something good for the environment as well as potentially earn some additional funding for their programs is a very attractive idea.
It is. I mean, it's a tail wagging the dog, so to speak, right? Where municipal responsibility fails, these folks are picking up. And I'm seeing also a lot of interest from nonprofits that are helping folks with disabilities and challenges, physical and mental challenges. There's a group out of Denver, Colorado, that applied for a grant. I don't know if I mentioned to you, Foam Cycle was part of something called Next Cycle, which was a program it started in Colorado, and it was an incubator program. So they put out a bid and said, if anybody has a new idea, we need to help the state of Colorado, because Colorado, as beautiful as a state it is, it has a dismal recycling percentage rate. The landfills out there are so cheap, and that recycling just, it's not taking off like it should. So anyway, so I was part of this incubator program last year, and through that I met a lot of interesting people, but hopefully we'll have our first system in Colorado as a result of next cycle. And that program is now starting up in Michigan. So it's a great program. Hope every state looks at it.
Now, how fast can you grow? It must be a challenge.
So my challenge is really just to get some interesting parties going here. How fast can I grow? Yeah, I can get containers made and machines made as fast as I can get orders in, but it's getting that passion behind the recycling of it. It's a little bit difficult, because as we're talking here, it's a complicated situation, obviously, right? The collection of it and the processing of it. I mean, it has great results, but it's not as simple as throwing something in a curbside container, and that's probably what hinders its growth.
Well, and you told me offline that the material itself, after you process it, which of course requires something that is 50 times larger than it starts, or 50 times smaller than it starts when it's processed. So there's a lot of foam going in order to get the ton of the stuff out, but $300 to $500 a ton. That must be an attractive incentive for a lot of people and organizations.
It does sound good, right? But at the end of the day, the ROI on the system, it's so impactful to recycle foam. It cooks down and to such a degree, it takes a really, really long time to even get a ton of it. And that's the good news. We did a study in Sussex where we filled up a 53-foot trailer of loose foam. We weighed it. We have scales there. It weighed 3,500 pounds. Well, once we processed that 3,500 pounds, it came to 3 pallets worth. Well, I can fit 3 pallets. I can fit 24 pallets into a trailer. So when you do the analysis, it's just an amazing amount of reduction of that either hits the landfill or if you're trucking it. But yeah, as far as the value is great because the product that it's making demands that polystyrene plastic. So it's a different type of plastic, obviously.
Well, Lou, this is a fascinating story, and I hope you'll come back and keep us up on your progress.
No, well, great. Thank you for the opportunity. If people want to see some videos, they can find it on my website, foamcycle.com. And, I'll keep plugging at it.
Well, folks, do check out Lou's site, foamcycle.com. He's got his main video, the introductory video, is a take on Back to the Future, which had at what we could be doing with expanded polystyrene. So it's definitely worth taking the time to learn about. And if you're interested, both as an organization or an individual, in helping your community process foam, this is a really interesting option. We'll be back with another innovator interview soon. In the meantime, keep tuned in to Earth911 Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, and we'll be back soon. In the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of one another, and let's all take care of this planet that we live on. Have a green day.